As the FBI pieces together what led up to the deadliest mass shooting in U.S. history, we're learning more about the gunman and his victims.
I believe we need one another.
Folks in Richmond remember and pray for the victims of the deadliest mass shooting in our country's history.
And as the country continues to mourn the victims, members of the Muslim community are sending a clear message.
This is not a problem of the religion.
We're talking to the Islamic Center of Lexington.
This is WKYT News at 5:30.
We will not be defined by the act of a cowardly hater.
Investigators in Florida are working around the clock to piece together what led up to Sunday's deadly terror attack at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando.
Good evening. As family and friends continue to mourn the 49 lives lost, the FBI is trying to reconstruct the shooting, hoping to gather as much forensic evidence as possible.
The president spoke again today, saying there is no clear evidence that the shooter was ordered to carry out the attack. The FBI is still trying to figure out if 29-year-old Omar Mateen researched other locations like Disney World as a potential target.
As the investigation continues, people across this country continue to remember all those victims. We learned tonight that one of the victims, 29-year-old Daryl Burt, spent part of his childhood in Georgetown. Garrett Weimer's in Richmond tonight, where a special mass is about to begin. He begins our top story team coverage.
Father Jim Sitchko says in times of tragedy and pain, it's important for folks to come together as a community. At a special mass here tonight, folks will pray for victims, their families, and for the country. Father Jim says the deadliest mass shooting in our nation's history impacts all of us, even if we don't know any of the victims. He says with lots of people hurting, with lots of anger, lots of questions, it's important for folks to come together, be still, and pray. Father Jim says we need to figure out what lessons we can learn from the shooting in Orlando. But first, he says we as a country should take proper time to grieve.
We welcome all people of all faiths, creeds, ways of life to come together and to be one, to pray that God's blessings may be bestowed upon those who are grieving, those who have died, but also upon our nation, that we may find some sense to this senseless act.
The service starts in about half an hour here at St. Mark on West Main Street. And as Father Jim said, people of all faiths and all backgrounds are welcome. In Richmond, Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
And the service at 6 tonight is expected to last about 45 minutes.
As the investigation continues, we are learning more about the gunman. Today, Mateen's father calling his son's massacre the act of a terrorist. In the hours after the shooting, Muslim leaders here in the U.S. condemned the shooting. I spoke with a member of the Islamic Center of Lexington who says these extremists do not represent his religion.
Allahu Akbar.
Islam emphasizes peace, so much so that their greeting, salam, means just that. But extremists don't always adhere to these teachings.
Just like Christianity, there are people within the Christianity that, for example, do things that's actually contrary to the Christianity. We have the same twisted mentality people in Islam. This is not a problem of the religion.
While these extremists are often the face of the religion, they're a small faction of the faith.
There is 1.5 billion, not million, billion Muslims, and you have a few thousand people fighting.
While many will now link the Muslim faith with this horrific crime, here at home, our Muslim community continues to pray for peace.
We're praying for everybody, peace for everybody.
The Islamic Center says they often receive threats of violence against their facility. After Saturday's mass shooting, the Lexington Police Department reached out to them, offering their assistance if they receive any backlash from the attack. We will continue to track this story and all local and national reaction. We'll be posting updates on WKYT.com.
Some cooler temperatures have moved into the bluegrass, cooler compared to this past weekend.
At least, yeah. We are tracking the chance of storms for the week. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey has an early look at the forecast.
Yeah, guys, anytime we're talking about weather, it is all relative. And compared to the past few days, indeed, the numbers right now are cooler. Let's prove that point. 24 hours ago versus right now. 4 degrees cooler, Lexington. Look at northeastern Kentucky. We've got a pocket of low 80s showing up, while western Kentucky hit the middle 90s out there this afternoon. The big difference today, though, the humidity. We basically have almost a desert-like atmosphere with humidity levels right now roughly 28-29%. Leading edge, though, of the humid air into western Kentucky, firing up some thunderstorms. A lot of lightning with those boomers between Bowling Green, Nashville, over toward the Owensboro area. That's what we will be facing tomorrow. Not so much this evening, though. Nice one out there, but a quick drop in temperatures across the eastern half of the state. As the sun sets, we will drop it from the upper 70s, low 80s into the upper 60s by the time we hit 11 o'clock. Overall, though, just a picture-perfect evening to get outside and enjoy, and you should really enjoy it when you take a look at the hour-by-hour forecast, guys. We'll steam it up and storm it up in a few minutes.
Thanks, Chris. They say a young girl set up a man to be robbed in his own home, and during that robbery, deputies say the man ended up getting shot.
It happened Friday night in the Kiwi community. The victim was taken to the hospital. The thieves, the attackers, are still on the run. New at 5:30, Phil Pendleton has the latest on who police are looking for.
Well, the crime happened Friday night, and police say that a teenage girl went to the home of a man that she knew. He let her in, but then 2 other men went in as well, and police say that's when the crime took place. Police say the 20-year-old man who answered the door for the teenager was beaten by the 2 men who followed the girl in. Then he was shot with his own gun.
He had a .22 caliber pistol in the residence. They found it and shot him in the hip and robbed him of his billfold and fled the scene.
The victim only had a small amount of cash in his wallet. The intruders left with that and the gun. Police say they're not exactly sure who the 2 men are, but they have a pretty good idea of who the teenager is.
The descriptions of the female and at least one of the male subjects that was involved fits the descriptions of a young lady who has been a juvenile runaway in this area.
The shooting victim was airlifted to UK hospital. Police don't think his injuries were life-threatening.
We really don't know whether this is just a robbery, but we do know that the robbery did occur. We're not sure whether they went there to assault him and to maybe harm him even more than that, and then to rob him as well.
And police say they are following up on several leads. They believe that the 3 left in a 2000 model Cadillac. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
And police say the robbery was an isolated, targeted incident, and they do not believe the home was selected at random.
State police are investigating a shooting in western Kentucky involving a sheriff's deputy. Our county-by-county coverage at 5:30 begins in Barron County. State police say 61-year-old John Williams shot his wife in the arm last night, and when deputies tracked Williams down an hour later, he fired his gun several times at them. The deputy shot back, killing Williams. The case was handed over to state police. In Spencer County, search crews are still looking for a man last seen at a Taylorsville lake on Sunday. Investigators say 48-year-old Zoran Jeftik of Louisville was on a boat with his family when water started to come into the boat. They believe Jeftik's 15-year-old daughter was driving the boat while he was trying to plug the hole, causing the leak.
Don't know all of what happened, but part of the issue was that there was the plug was left out of the boat, so the boat was taking on water. They were trying to return to shore so they could get back on shore to get the water out of it.
The water in the area is extremely murky, and crews believe it could be days before they find Jeftik's body. And in Clay County, a mother faces charges after troopers say she was driving under the influence of drugs with her child in the car. State police arrested Beverly Melton in the parking lot of Taco Bell. Another driver had called 911 saying Melton was driving recklessly on the Hal Rogers Parkway. Troopers say they found Xanax and marijuana on Melton.
Texting, email, and social media helps keep us connected with friends and family. But a number of employers believe the smartphone is distracting workers and hurting the bottom line. Keeping up with orders is a key to success at the Cellmark Corporation outside of Dallas. So when worker productivity slipped a few years ago,
trending well,
President James Sellers investigated. The culprit? Cell phones. Employees were spending big chunks of time texting and using social media.
2 hours can go in a blink of an eye when you're checking updates and seeing what people are up to.
According to a new survey from Career Builder, many companies have the same problem. 75% say at least 2 hours of productivity are lost daily because employees are distracted, and the biggest distraction is the phone. Teacher Laura Gerlach says it's easy to get sucked into social media.
When I check a Facebook message that is from work, I then find myself checking all the other Facebook messages. Right. I'm ratting myself out right now.
And businessman Eric Broussard believes it's hard to stop.
Well, you're checking your Facebook, you're checking your personal emails, you have it available 24/7, so that's kind of the way the world is right now.
Our number one goal is that people have a very productive day at the office.
Sellers put in policies discouraging personal use of the phone on the job.
We don't want to micromanage them. If they need to take a call or do a text or something, that's fine.
He says since the changes were made, productivity has improved. Workers at Sellers Company can be given an official warning if they are seen multiple times using the phone for personal use. That is interruptive, distracting, or affecting productivity.
I'm Bill Bryant. The presidential candidates adjust their campaigns after the deadly shootings in Orlando. And a Central Kentucky leader says local governments can't handle the drug epidemic alone. The bottom line is ahead.
I'm Sean Moody in Frankfort. Coming up on WKYT News at 6, students and administrators at Kentucky State University honored the 49 people shot and killed in Orlando. They say there are lessons we can learn right here in Kentucky.
Visit our fireplace showroom or shop online at barnhillchimney.com.
Captain D's is the place for a variety of seafood meals starting at $4.99, like the sampler or our new Fish and D's Jumbo Coconut Shrimp Meal. Also, try our new grilled lemon pepper whitefish and shrimp skewer. For full meals starting at $4.99, it's gotta be D's.
At Hair Win, we've been helping people for 125 years.
If you've been injured in a life-changing accident, we can help.
Contact us at helpingkentucky.com.
Hair Win. Visit helpingkentucky.com.
DQ funnel cake a la mode? Hold on. Coming through.
For the next hours. Cloudy tomorrow.
Funnel cake has a new home. The DQ Bakes new funnel cake a la mode with the world-famous DQ soft serve and your favorite topping. This is fan food, not fast food.
Funnel cake a la mode.
At the Joseph A. Bank Super Tuesday sale, all executive and Joseph suits are just $199. Plus, get up to 70% off almost everything else in the store. And all traveler dress shirts are just $3 for $99. Only at Joseph A. Bank this Tuesday, Preview Day Monday.
A fully stocked store to me is the most important thing because you have to have a good understanding of your store and your customers to really be able to know where everything is. You got to go on the journey together. It makes you feel good because you get close to these people and then they really do. They depend on you. They ask for you. It makes the customer's experience 100 times better. You learn things about people and it really does. It makes them come back because they genuinely appreciate you. I'm Craig and I work at the Charlestown Road Kroger.
People really do live life in their Toyotas. Live well in the stylishly affordable Corolla S with Entune audio, Bluetooth, and backup camera, all standard. Now, during Toyota's summer sales event, get 0% financing for 72 months or lease Corolla for $159 a month. Toyota, let's go places.
Clients come into the office. The government has said, no, I don't believe you. You're not disabled.
The major problem with Social Security disability is that most people who sign up are denied at the initial level. If your claim's denied, don't give up. Call us immediately. We'll appeal your case.
We can do an effective job of representing you that will get you the benefits that you deserve.
Call Morgan, Collins, and Yeast, 1-800-55-WILDCAT.
Captain D's is the place for a variety of seafood meals starting at $4.99, like the sampler or our new Fish and D's Jumbo Coconut Shrimp Meal. Also, try our new grilled lemon pepper whitefish and shrimp skewer. For full meals starting at $4.99, it's gotta be D's.
Keep up with the latest news on WKYT.com. Join the conversation on Twitter and become a part of the WKYT Facebook family.
The presidential candidates are shifting gears in the wake of the Orlando shooting.
And the shooting may have Senator Marco Rubio considering running for re-election. Bill Bryant has details in the bottom line.
Good evening. The presidential candidates have quickly shifted gears after the horrific shooting massacre in Orlando, the deadliest ever on U.S. soil. Both presumptive major party nominees were set to give speeches, but they're now being altered following the attack on an Orlando nightclub. Donald Trump decided not to go ahead with a planned talk about Hillary Clinton's past that had been set for tonight. He tweeted last night about predicting something like this would happen, and he said the country needs to get tough and smart fast. Clinton has postponed her first scheduled appearance with President Obama that had been set for the middle of this week. She also used the words radical Islamism in referring to the terrorist attack today. The terrorist attack in the state he represents in the U.S. Senate apparently may have former Republican presidential candidate and Senator Marco Rubio entertaining thoughts about his decision not to seek re-election. Rubio did not address the possibility directly today, but he says he's deeply affected by the attack, and it has him thinking about service to the country. Madison County Judge Executive Reagan Taylor says the drug problem in Kentucky is so bad and so expensive that local governments need help from the state. Taylor is dealing with a recommendation from a task force to build a much larger jail and treatment facility that would cost tens of millions of dollars. He says the state needs to coordinate its response to a problem that is getting worse. He was on this weekend's edition of Kentucky Newsmakers. Scott Pelley will be live from Orlando on the CBS Evening News, and WKYT News will continue to cover the local response to the tragic weekend massacre there. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
Now, your hour-by-hour forecast with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey.
Well, thermometers out there today, a little cooler than the weekend, but the humidity is way, way down. You can actually step outside and breathe for a change. Low 80s eastern Kentucky. How about you, Prestonsburg at 80? Yet low and mid 90s into western Kentucky. Bluegrass region, yeah, somewhere in between with a low and mid 80s, but you're getting this sky for your Monday evening plans. Right now, 28% humidity in Lexington on a northeasterly wind at 6 miles per hour. Humidity's way down today. It inches up tomorrow, and then it really crashes through into the tropical category as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. So soak up that dry air while it is out there. We look at the Defender Radar Network. Thunderstorms, western Kentucky, kind of coming at us from southwest to northeast, and that's on the leading edge of that really steamy air. And what you see breaking out now from Owensboro down toward Nash Vegas will be on top of central and eastern Kentucky as we go into later on tomorrow. 3-day threat track with a storm or two, and temperatures that'll hit 90 tomorrow for many of us. Wednesday afternoon into the evening. Wednesday, it's not going to rain all day. You're going to get some storm clusters to come our way from northwest to southeast, so that by the time we hit Wednesday evening, some strong or severe storms will be possible. One or two of those may hang tough into the day on Thursday. Models are trying to hone in on where exactly to place these clusters. Just know that they're guesstimating right now. But they are telling us that this is a pattern that is ripe for some strong thunderstorms around late Wednesday into Wednesday night. And damaging winds, usually the big players in a setup like this. That hour by hour tomorrow morning, 50s eastern Kentucky, 70s western Kentucky for lows. Big time surge in temperatures and humidity tomorrow. Many of us should hit 90 with a chance for a booming thunderstorm before the day is finished. Into Wednesday, muggy and downright tropical. Temperatures 85 to 90, and there's that big cluster of thunderstorms that will dive in northwest to southeast as we go into the second half of Wednesday. That may hang tough into early Thursday morning before we get one more really soupy day on Thursday. Then look what happens as we go into the weekend. 90 tomorrow, 80s, mid and upper 80s on Wednesday, chance for a thunderstorm. Let's get that front through here and let's lower that thermometer, shall we? By the weekend, generally low and mid 80s with humidity levels that will come down, maybe not to as low as we're seeing now, but into the comfy category once again.
My mom always called it the air you wear when it's really
really
humid outside.
When it is really humid.
So today was such a relief that we weren't wearing it.
So does that mean we're not wearing weather today?
Not today.
Not today. Yeah, we will tomorrow.
We're wearing something.
Thankfully.
Thanks.
Total of 3 collisions working right now, including one at Manowar and Maple Leaf. That's an injury crash that police are still on the scene of. And we got 2 collisions near the mall. Nicholasville and Brigadoon, there's a crash there. That's an injury collision as well that is affecting traffic really both directions in that area, anywhere from the Circle out to Manowar. Drive times impacted to Nicholasville because of the collision near Brigadoon. We're okay on Harrodsburg Road, but still bumper-to-bumper traffic outbound North Broadway approaching the Circle. Now back to the studio.
A big day for the Kentucky baseball Wildcats.
Yeah, 2 of their freshmen named All-Americans today, but more importantly, a new head coach. When we return, I'll introduce you to Nick Minjone. That leads us off in sports.
New CBS Tonight.
Sis?
Laurel Healy is coming home.
There's a position open in his office. I hate politics. Do it for a year.
But Washington, D.C.
Good luck.
is nothing like she remembers.
We need a political revolution.
He wants to stop me from investigating.
Laurel, this is constituent care, not Nancy Drew.
From the creators of The Good Wife.
Something weird is going on.
There are plenty of reasons to be paranoid in this town.
God, I hate politics.
Brain Dead. Series premieres CBS Tonight.
Finally, a delicious pecan chicken salad sandwich, just like Mom used to make. When Mom was the Arby's Employee of the Month. Arby's, we have the meat.
Here's a fun way to control your luck. It's a game called Keno. You can start with $1. You pick your numbers, your odds, and your wager. And the winnings, well, they could be major. Just pick your numbers and hope you win. A few minutes later, you can play it again. Now play Keno wherever Kentucky lottery games are sold.
Today we're going to talk about the all-new 2016 Chevy Cruze, but you're only going to answer me in emojis. So this Cruze has built-in 4G LTE Wi-Fi with 24 gigs of data. It also comes with 24 months of Sirius XM satellite radio.
Like word, Chevy. That's the way to go.
Current qualified lessees can get this all-new 2016 Chevy Cruze LT with 2 years of Sirius XM radio for around $169 a month. See your Kentucky Select Chevy dealers.
Who says mornings can't be happy? Not us. Introducing the DQ Hardest Working Happy Hour, with drinks that work even harder than you do, blending sweet flavors like never before. Only DQ has drinks that multitask in the morning even if you can't. Like $2 premium fruit smoothies, $2 ultimate frappes, and $1 iced coffees. Every weekday morning until 10:30 a.m. at your DQ. This is fan food, not fast food.
See a new you at Reflections Med Spa and Wellness Center. Don't miss our cool sculpting event. Call today for limited booking and free assessments. Reflections Med Spa and Wellness Center. Say hello to a new you.
John Leach worked in Kentucky coal mines for 23 years. He provided for his family, including 3 children with a rare genetic disease.
I couldn't ask for better kids. The best in the world.
The disease took John's oldest child. The other 2 need 24-hour care. But now Congress may go back on its word, taking away the health care John worked for and putting his children's lives in jeopardy.
This is what we get for working to help this country. A promise broken.
If your child has been bullied, injured, or abused, please call one of our child advocates right now. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
This afternoon, Kentucky announcing the hiring of Mississippi State assistant coach Nick Minjone as the new head baseball coach of the Wildcats. If that name sounds familiar, there's a pretty good reason. Minjone spent 2 seasons in Lexington as an assistant coach under John Cohen during the 2006-2007 seasons. He left for Western Carolina before rejoining Cohen again at Mississippi State from 2009 through this past season. Minjone was the recruiting coordinator for the Bulldogs, winning 2 SEC titles, 5 NCAA appearances, 3 College World Series appearances. That also includes a runner-up finish 3 years ago. Here's a quick resume of Minjone, who had been with Cohen 10 of the past 11 seasons. His time in Lexington during the 06-07 campaign saw the Wildcats win the SEC title in 06, a total of 78 wins in those 2 seasons. Kentucky relief pitcher Sean Jelly
And Justin Lewis combining for 6 wins and all 12 of the team's saves during the 2016 season. They've been named freshman All-Americans by Collegiate Baseball. The 6'11" 3/4-inch Jelly went 4-1 with 8 saves, a .374 earned run average. All of his wins came in the SEC. Lewis went 2-0 with 4 saves, and at one point this season, he threw 21 consecutive shutout innings in relief. There have been a lot of changes at Kentucky Speedway in Sparta since the last Quaker State 400. Lee K. Howard was at the track today.
In just a few short weeks, NASCAR comes to Kentucky for the Quaker State 400. But today and tomorrow, many of those same drivers that will be competing in that race are here at Sparta to test out the new renovated Kentucky Speedway. Just recently, they completely repaved the entire 1.5-mile oval and added some banking in turns 1 and 2. Even drivers with a lot of experience on this track say there's not much that they can take from their past experience here in Kentucky.
None, and you won't leave with a headache. So, you know, that's the best part about it, I think, as you look with drying the racetrack and not losing track time and making the fans sit around, you know, for no reason. So, you know, I think that part of it is definitely did a great job on that and fixed that.
You know, still got some character to it with some bumps down the front straightaway. Definitely not as bad as it was years prior. Like Kevin mentioned, there's that little transition in turn 2. So overall, they did a decent job here at Kentucky Speedway getting the repave on.
I thought one thing that was pretty telling is Kyle Busch, who's had quite a bit of success here at the Speedway in Kentucky, said that this year it'll be like coming to a completely different track. Here at Kentucky Speedway in Sparta, Lee K. Howard, WKYT.
Thank you very much. At the 6 o'clock hour, John Calipari, more basketball news, and we go back to the Speedway. That's sports. We'll be right back.